I have, when you say in your book that humor is important in design too. I have a piece of tape. I had a guest on last year named Arthur Mann, who claimed to be the world's greatest generic designer, Art Mann. And I think you can probably see it on the monitor. I want to roll this tape and get your reaction to it because it involves your work. And we'll just take a look at this tape. We have, why don't you, we'll do some before and afters here, and tell us the problems, the challenges presented, and how you solve these.
Well, everyone's familiar with, what is this, Westinghouse? Right, they make washing machines and some other type of things. So they wanted me to simplify the logo because there's so much going on. We don't need these little round things, Madiggies here, and this little, whatever you call that. So they said, let's simplify this. Let's make it more universal so everyone can understand what's going on here. So this is what the solution I came up with. And I'll tell you, it wasn't easy. I'll tell you, that was a real, oof. Oh, that was... But and they liked it.
With it.
Yes, they are.
Well,
they like it.
I think we're all, as I said, up against the problem of clients, and if you can. Okay, well, that was Art Mann, who claimed to have been a generic designer, and was a bit of a put on there. But what he was doing, I mean, you have your logos are sort of ultimate simplicity, and we just sort of took it one bizarre step further. And as you took the Westinghouse logo, and he said, you didn't hear the beginning part, he said, let's knock these little doohickeys off the top.
Yeah, right.
I wanted to ask you about those little doohickeys. Let me show the logo close up here so we can get a better idea of what those were all about. Okay, here's the Westinghouse logo. Now, what are those little doohickeys, and why does that work for Westinghouse? I mean, that I think of all of yours maybe is a little more intriguing. And they're all intriguing, but the fact that they're even...
You mean illustrative?
Yeah, maybe that's the word I'm groping for. What...
No, they had a very... As a matter of fact, the original logo was very much like the stuff that this guy was claiming to simplify. It was just a W. Well, a W is a common letter in the alphabet, and I think when you have that kind of a problem, you need something that's more memorable. I mean, if you have to use a W. Okay. And that's the only reason I use those 3 dots.
Okay. But was it just... Okay.
Oh, well, people saw all sorts of things in it. They saw plugs and what do you call it? Boards.
Printed circuitry.
Printed circuits and all that. But that wasn't in my mind at all.
Oh, great.
There's nothing... I mean, no way. But people will always see things. You know, perception is reality. Reality is not reality. It's only what people think.
But you're sort of demystifying.
That's one of the problems. That's one of the reasons it's so difficult to be a designer. Because you show it to 10 people and every guy has a different opinion. Most of whom object or think that what you do is terrible.
And a lot of design firms come in with a logo, but then they come with a 100-page booklet explaining it, the rationale, where you just demystify it and go, well, that makes it took the W out of the ordinary.
I explained it. Well, I didn't in the case of UPS and several others, but I usually do a brochure, and I write it, and usually have it printed.
No, I saw the one you did for Next. You did the Next logo for Stephen
right.
Jobs,
That's
and
right.
I teach a class and I use that. I blow it up and show page by page because it's a wonderful evolution of a logo.
I've done it for many. In fact, I'm just finishing one now that I'm doing for a Japanese bank, and I had to find a way of doing it without writing anything. Because I don't understand Japanese and they don't understand English, so I just did try to do something, a song without words, and it's possible. It's possible. You show a series of things that the progression, the evolution, or the metamorphosis of something, and it's seeable. You can see from one stage to the next, and you just keep going.
Now, do you have to immerse yourself in Japanese culture or anything to implement their kind of icons and anything like that? Or
well, I think you don't do things that are outrageous. You just, I don't think there's any difference between doing one for a Japanese company or a Turkish company or a Saudi Arabian company or an American
there could
company.
be
It's
an
all
M-
the same problem.
Yeah, I'm just wondering
That's
if
one of the
there's
problems. You know, when I was interviewed for this assignment for this Japanese, I said, we were in Tokyo at the time, and we went to this meeting, and I said, why do you want me to do your logo? You have the best designers are right here in Tokyo.
yeah.
I mean, the moral of that story is not that I'm such a great designer, it's that design is universal.
But aren't there certain, I'm just wondering, like in Japan, you know, 3 dots may mean dead fish or something. I mean, you couldn't just, or could you just arbitrarily use some emblems? You're not, you know, you may be...
Well, I mean,
lose something in translation.
that's a slightly different problem, you know, when you run into meaning things, you know, they're definitely universally understood as to being either bad or good. That's a problem. But generally, that's not. I know, for example, Procter & Gamble once named a product at the most terrible word that you can think of in Yiddish, and that happened to have a Yiddish agency, and the guy told them, look, you can't use this word for a product like Does or something like that.
Well, there's a classic, I think the Chevy Nova in Spain, Nova means doesn't go. So a car that doesn't named after...
I think very rarely do you get problems like that. The biggest problem is that people take pictorial things literally. And when you give them something that's abstract, you have one hell of a time to explain it. So you try to be logical. You do almost an ABC primer style that I understand and that these people understand. The guy the other day from London called me in an interview, and he said, see, my age makes me forget things.
We only have about, can I ask you another?
Yeah, but there was
Okay.
an important point. It was about, he asked me about writing, you know. He said, how come you write so well? Well, I mean, that's very flattering. I said, it's not that I write so well. I think writing is a matter of having ideas. I think most people write very well, but there's no substance to what they write, so it's, you know, it's pretty boring stuff, even if the adjectives and nouns and pronouns fit. But that's not the point. The point is that the ideas have to fit. And also, writing is something to do with music. You know, it has to sound right.
So do you
And it's the same thing designing a logo, you know. The thing has to fit. And if things fit, you can write about it, you can describe it. And we think, whether we know it or not, we always think in words. You know, we do. We say, today I'm going out, and tomorrow I'm not going out, and now I'm going to sleep, and next week I'm going to do this. But you actually, maybe you may not mouth it, but you think
Sure.
that way. So if you think thoughts that make sense, you can write them down. And then you can be a good writer.
Well, thanks for that, too. We're out of time.
But you don't have to be Shakespeare, you know.
I'll never be accused of that. We're out of time. I want to thank you very much, Paul Rand. It was a pleasure for me and for everybody at home, I'm sure. Thank you very much for being with us. And
Very well.